Folks, welcome into another edition of SportsbookReview.com's Roundtable. Today, we're going to focus on the NFL Draft, but we want to focus on one guy, and that's Tua Tagovailoa out of Alabama. My esteemed panel today, Gary Seegers, Teddy Savransky, and Flash Watson. Let's get right into it. Obviously, we know Tua's successes at the University of Alabama, but an injury last year forced a lot of information to go into turmoil, and talking in the current conditions, maybe some teams can't get those updates that they really want on Tua to see how healthy he is. We check out Instagram, we check out Twitter, we check out YouTube. Look at that, Tua's working out. He looks really healthy. But how healthy is he? Actually, a lot of stuff to go over. First, let's bring in my esteemed panel here. Flash, we're talking about a quarterback. Everybody needs quarterbacks. Tua Tagovailoa, to you, obviously we know he's going to go either 1 or 2, possibly number 2 overall in the quarterback realm. But talk to me first here, Flash, about Tua as a quarterback himself, some guy you would obviously want on your team. But do you think, Flash, he's healthy enough to be ready to go when the football season kicks off?
That's a $64 million question, Donnie, because this is an absolute beast of a car from the outside, but you don't know what's underneath the hood. And the problem is, I would say that this is probably the most complete quarterback going into last season for all the scouts to say, right, he's probably ready for the NFL more than any of the others. And then all of a sudden he gets injured. And then you look at the organizations that are going to want to try and get him. Now, are they going to take the gamble? Because it's going to be a big gamble. We know, obviously, the number 1 quarterback sewn up, but he's going to be right up there. And I think to myself, I know that he's going to obviously get the start, but is he going to go somewhere where they're going to maybe edge him in, start him? There is a gamble on his health. There has to be, but is it worth it? I think with the pedigree that he could well show, he could be the one in 5 years' time that we say that he was the best, and I think that he will go well.
SEC quarterbacks here, Gary. Usually we don't look at the SEC and say, hey, we're going to get those top-level guys, but Joe Burrow projected to go number 1 overall, Tua right behind him. And before we get into the gambling odds and what team he might actually go to, we've all seen he's a great kid. I mean, Nick Saban can't talk highly enough about this kid and the family he comes from. So you know he's working really hard to get back, and all these updates that we're getting medically, clearing him at each hurdle. And we do, again, see the videos that he is progressing. In your eye here, if you're a GM, are you worried about taking him up this high with his injury that he's had? And also, let's keep in mind, obviously it's been the hip, but he's had a numerous amount of high ankle sprains as well. Does that deter you as an NFL GM from taking him high?
Well, the ankle injury is not so much. No, the injury does not scare me off at all. 1, you know he's going to be a great locker room kid. 2, the high ankle sprains were both fixed by Dr. James Andrews down in Birmingham. World-class physician, world-class athlete support, whatever you want to call it. He's fantastic. The tightrope thing is built to make him last longer so that he won't get those high ankle sprains. So that I'm not worried about. The hip, everything that you see on video, obviously you don't get to see it in person, but you still get to see the video and you see him being able to move around. He still has everything that he had before. And the fact that he has come back this quick from an injury that happened in the middle of November, that's pretty outstanding. No, I'm not scared off at all. If I am a team that has to have a quarterback, 1, I know that I don't really want to play him at least at the beginning of his first year. That's not a recipe for success anyway. But if you do need a quarterback long term, he is your guy. And a lot of teams, I think, are going to try and trade up to get him.
It's an interesting point you bring up here, Gary. Teddy, I want to bring you in and talk about this because just looking at, just say, from my Philadelphia Eagles experience here, they drafted Sidney Jones in the 2nd round because he came off an Achilles injury. We said, hey, he's young, he's going to recover. This guy was probably going to be a top 10 pick. Now we got him in the 2nd round. We'll see how that works out. It didn't work out so well for the Philadelphia Eagles, but taking a look from the quarterback perspective, we've seen it as far back as, Steve Air McNair out of Alcorn State saying, hey, look, we're going to draft this kid. He is special, but we're going to sit him down. We're going to, wait a year and go over. Same thing that they did in Cincinnati Cincinnati with Carson Palmer. But obviously, being Tua Tagovailoa here, you're going to a team that, hey, maybe the infrastructure isn't ready to win yet. Is this one, if you're an NFL GM, you say, you know what, I'm going to take him high because I'm not going to force him out on the football field? Or is this something as an NFL GM, Teddy, you take a look at and say, you know what, he's ready. I trust the medicals. Even though we don't get the full amount of medicals we used to do, does that put something in your head as a GM, Teddy, that says, you know what, I'm still ready to go full blast on him? Or do you take a step back and say, let's see how far, if he does slide at all, before we go up to get him as a GM?
So if Tua would have been eligible for the NFL draft last year, he would have been the number 1 overall pick. Then he went out for his junior year. He had a 33-3 touchdown to interception ratio. He averaged 11.3 yards per attempt against SEC defenses. And now you're saying, oh, well, he's not the number 1 pick. I don't even know if he's going to be the number 2 pick. Tua's a franchise quarterback. He's been a franchise quarterback since high school. All right, that's why he went to Alabama. That's why he started Alabama. That's why Tua does not fall in this draft. All right, if you have a chance to move up and stash him, heck yeah, you move up and stash him. But, you know, I personally think Tua has more NFL upside than Burrow. And, you know, Cincinnati's going to do what they do, which is let's draft a guy who was hot last year. I take Tua in a New York minute over Burrow. And, you know, I think he'll end up being a star, but may not be as fast. Then again, Burrow's not going to be a star. He's playing in Cincinnati.
Teddy, you bring up such a good point, too, because a lot of times it's the organization that you actually go to that can, you know, see it all the way through. You're talking about Joe Burrow, and half the talk that we had over the past 2 months is Joe Burrow hasn't said yet that he even wants to go to Cincinnati. That's always going to be an issue. Flash, we're going to bring you in here because we do like to talk gambling and where these players are going to go. Obviously, the heavy favorite on the number 1 overall pick is Joe Burrow going to the Cincinnati Bengals. But if we take a look at that 2 spot, which is plus 500, not number 2 quarterback to go, number 2 overall is plus 500 if Tua goes to the Redskins. I am an Eagles fan, you know, predominantly out of the NFC East. And I got to tell you, I agree with a lot of Teddy has to say. If Tua goes to the Redskins, that's a problem for my Eagles over the next 10 to 15 years. I believe that. The safe pick is going Chase Young at the number 2 spot. But then we look at the Lions at number 3. Do they move on from Stafford to say, hey, you know, you might have some trade value with Stafford in the market. Let's make the move for Tua. But also the big drop in odds comes in that number 4 spot. Plus 950 it escalates to because the New York Giants and Daniel Jones. Doesn't say that the number 4 spot they can trade in and out and somebody can move up and take Tua. In your opinion here, where do you see Tua going and what value do you think he can go for between those 1 to 5 spots and maybe a team that could possibly even trade up for him, Flash?
I think he goes to the Dolphins. And if I was the Dolphins, I would give up 2 first-round picks to get him. I think that it'd be absolutely perfect behind Fitzpatrick. And the other one, when you have these injuries and that at such a young age, it's the heat. Go and play in the sunshine. Go and play in a place that you know that if you do a job over 55, 60%, then you're going to be there for about 8 to 10 years if you stay healthy. For me, I've got it closed up that he goes to the Dolphins, and I think we'll get good value, and I may even go and put my own shekels on that, and I will follow it up. But for me, if I'm the Dolphins, I give up my 2 first-round picks, take my first one, go up, trade with the Lions. They're desperate under Patricia to get as many decent, talented players in as possible. Stops them raiding the Patriots' coffers. Donnie?
Now, if we take a look at this and we look, Gary, so you know what? The Bengals are 1, Redskins are 2, Lions are 3, obviously the Giants 4, Dolphins and Chargers. Do you see anybody outside of that? Because I know, hey, Bill Belichick's got a stance here. He's going to trade up and get Tua. That's going to be his next guy, and it's going to propel them to multiple championships over the next decade. Do you see anybody coming out of the pack as opposed to, like, it's easy to say the Dolphins because the Lions sit in that spot at number 3 saying, hey, we got Stafford. We're open for business. We want to get some first-round draft picks. If you want to do trade up, we'll certainly trade down. Is there anybody outside of those favorites here you say, you know what? I got a sneaky suspicion that this team might be able to come up, or maybe multiple teams might be able to come up and grab this guy. Any thoughts on that, Gary?
My sleeper pick on this is the Indianapolis Colts. They signed Phillip Rivers to a 1-year guaranteed deal, and that's it. After that, they've got Jacoby Brissett. They've got Chad Kelly. Do you really believe in either one of those to lead your franchise going forward? I don't believe that they do. They don't have a first-round pick this year. That is a problem. But if you can pair together that number 34 pick that they got from Washington, you pair together some other things that are going on, you take some bad contracts back, you find a way to move up to number 3, maybe even number 4 with the Giants, depending on what they want to do with Gettleman. Who knows what he wants to do here. But you find a way to get in there above Miami, And yeah, I think he would fit really well in Frank Reich's scheme. I love what the Colts have got. They've already got a team built. I think they could win, double-digit games this year. So I think the Colts would be the sleeper. You can go ahead and forget about the Pats. They don't do deals like that. They don't really move up high and give up a lot of assets to go and get something like this that is more or less a crapshoot. We all believe in Tua, but Bill Belichick, as much as he may love him, is not going to be willing to give up a lot just to go up there and take a risk.
Teddy, we love to talk, where these guys are going, but also importantly, what the value has. And we've done other videos before where you take a look at those Los Angeles Chargers, and they're telling you right now, even though Cam Newton is the betting favorite to land there, we're good with Tyrod. We're fine with Tyrod. So you say, wait a second here. If you don't want Cam, you're good with Tyrod. He's not really going to be your franchise quarterback. You're opening a new stadium, and oh, yeah, you do draft number 6. And there is a superstar in waiting out there that's probably going to be able to sell some tickets and improve your franchise in Tua. Is there any value in trying to read those tea leaves and say, you know what? This is a really good landing spot for Tua Tagovailoa?
It might be a good landing spot, but I don't think he's going to be there at 6. Whoever's going to get Tua is going to have to move up to get him. I genuinely think that he's not falling to Miami at 5. There's enough interest in Tua around the league that someone's going to make a move to go get him. That Indy choice was an interesting choice. The Raiders have the Raiders are a team that have the assets to move up in the draft, considering all the picks they have. I wouldn't be shocked to see Oakland. Las Vegas make that move. But, I think the Lions at 3, the Giants at 4, one of those teams is likely to trade down. And I would expect that someone is going to move up and pick up Tua. And there's a number of different choices of possibilities there. I'll throw in the Raiders as 1, Colts as another, Chargers as a 3rd. But to think the draft is going to go boom, boom, boom like projections, it never goes that way. And there's always trades. And I think Tua, more than most quarterbacks, is going to attract a lot of attention from NFL GMs trying to move up.
Attracting a lot of attention, sure, for Tua, and also the NFL draft. As we see, that number 3 hole looks like that's the betting favorite to land in the Detroit Lions spot. Do they trade up? Do they pick them? All that and more. Make sure you follow everything NFL draft-wise right here at sportsbookreview.com for another Roundtable episode with Garry, Teddy, Flash, and myself. Thanks for tuning in. Hit that subscribe button. Get the notifications delivered right to your box when we go live with more information. Thanks again for checking out sportsbookreview.com.